Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crossing Borders. I'm Mike Ginn. That's the Extreme One, Alex Soto, back again to talk about some action south of the border. Of course, we got LUX 32 coming up in about 30 days from now to be down in Guadalajara, Jalisco. You got the ladies in action running the main event. You got Saray Orozco and Andrea Vazquez in a unification fight for the strawweight title. Eli Rodriguez defending her belt against Fernanda Muñoz. So since we got some time to spare before we do our preview for that show, Alex and I sometimes like to take a look at some of the fighters, take a little close-up look, and share some insights into some of the fighters you might not have heard of before. And today, Alex, we're choosing the title challengers. But wait. Before we get to that, head over to FightersFirst.shop. Support the brand, support the show. Get Alex's collection. Get all the other officially licensed collections from MMA, boxing, kickboxing, professional wrestling. FightersFirst.shop. Alex, I have been horrible about promoting the brand the last couple episodes, so I had to squeeze that in.
Alex, how you doing
today, buddy?
Hey, doing great. It's been a long time, Mike. There were some scheduling conflicts, and we're just trying to get together. You're out on the East Coast. I'm all the way in San Diego. Things happen, and we can't, do the show sometimes. So, but what? Why are you pointing this way?
Scheduling conflicts, yes.
Scheduling conflicts, man. But nonetheless,
if you're watching the video version,
we're getting ready for LUX 32. All right, LUX 32, Guadalajara, Mexico. In fact, I will be going there, and I got some news for you, Mike.
You're bringing me some tequila.
I got somebody visiting me. Guess who's going to be visiting? Guess who's coming over and checking out all the fighters? Who's been hanging out with a bunch of the fighters lately?
The Crow.
Not the Crow.
You're actually taking your kids this time.
The only one, the baddest dude, the toughest 125-pound champion in the world. Shorty Torres, man. Shorty Torres is joining me. The awesome. Two-time IMMAF world champion of the world, the Titan FC world champion of the world.
His fight got canceled again, so yeah, he's got time.
And also the title challenger, I believe, for Brave Combat Federation.
I mean, they can never get that fight together.
If they can ever agree to meet there at that point.
They pushed it back a month, and then it got canceled. I don't know what's going on with that fight now.
Oh, dude, yeah, he's been going through some stuff. So
I saw he was going home to Chicago. If he's going home to Chicago, that means the training's done for a minute.
Shorty Torres is going to be coming, and he'll be joining me on there. Hopefully, we'll get him on the booth, and we'll get some time to talk out there.
You know what's ironic about that, right? Is that
what's that?
Normally, when LUX goes on air, Titan goes on air, and like you guys are competing on UFC Fight Pass for air.
Get out of here. Okay.
Like
I didn't even know that.
Almost always on the air at the same time on Fight Pass. And I'm just like, who do I watch? Of course I'm gonna watch Alex Soto. I'm not gonna watch Shorty. I'm gonna watch Alex.
Thank you.
Shorty's my dude too. Got a lot of love for Shorty Torres. Doing his thing. Of course, his fight got pushed back again. So hopefully he's back in action soon. But speaking back in action, Alex, we got a couple fighters we want to take a look at today. Both of them are challenging for titles at LUX 32. One is already kind of a champion. We'll talk about her later. The interim champion, Andrea Vazquez. Of course, Dynamite. How do you say it in Spanish? Dinamita?
The Dynamite.
Yeah, Fernanda Muñoz. She's challenging Eli Rodriguez, who just won the Flyweight title her last time out against what's her name? I always forget her name. I know I'm a horrible host. Horrible.
How embarrassing. What are the compadres going to think?
What are they going to think? That said, two championship challengers coming into action. Victoria, of course, I was talking about. But that said, Fernanda's coming off a win against the woman that Victoria all but won the title from, Daniela Villamil, in the vacant title fight. And she beat her via split decision last time out at LUX 31. She's got a quick turnaround. Fernanda's going to be fighting for the title against Eli Rodriguez. Tell us a little something about Fernanda Muñoz. She was just on the last card. She's got a few wins from UWC, one of your old stomping grounds. She's fought there, but her first debut in LUX was LUX Fight League 31. What'd you think of her when she fought Villamil?
I thought it was a very interesting matchup. And because Villamil kind of does bring the brings the wrestling to the table, right?
She did for once, actually.
And she actually did, right? And that was going to be the cause here. That was going to be what Muñoz was able to was going to have trouble with. But it really came down to Muñoz being able to stay, avoid the takedowns and really, punishing on that stand-up game. She's got really, really crisp striking, which is what I really like about her. Good counter strikes, and her wrestling is actually pretty good too. I mean, I was looking at some of her tape before looking in those fights at the UWC, and really impressive ground and pound, really impressive like takedown and positioning as well, like dominating on the ground as well. So very, very bright future there. Saray Orozco, though, it does have a lot to offer, man. Different.
Eli Rodriguez, wrong kind of fight.
Excuse me?
Eli Rodriguez.
Oh, excuse me. Eli Rodriguez. Sorry, excuse me.
Got ahead of yourselves. We're talking about Andrea next.
I did, and I apologize. Okay, so Eli Rodriguez, very similar striking.
Me today. It's been a rough day, Alex.
It's been a long day. It's been a long time since we've done this. That's why, Mike.
It's my fault. I made Alex rush through his lunch. It's my
Thank you. You rushed me through it. I was enjoying a salad, but that's neither here nor there. Eli Rodriguez, similar striking style, okay, has a little bit more on her game, though, I would have to say. Her striking, very crisp. Very much like Muñoz. Muñoz loves to come in as well with the striking. Does a really good job. Straight punches down the middle, man. So good. I've been teaching my kids. They've been sparring a lot lately with a bunch of other kids and stuff. And I'm always talking about straight punches, man. And everybody just winging them. But these girls, they have it, man. They got really clean punches down the pipe, and it's gonna be to who's ever going to destabilize that rhythm of the striking game. So if we see either Muñoz or Eli Rodriguez incorporate some wrestling into the game, I think that's gonna be enough to tip the equilibrium there between both of these fighters.
Well, a couple things about Fernanda that we pointed out last time going into that Vazquez fight. She does fight out of the Antrim gym, which world famous down there in Mexico. You talk about Brandon Moreno and all those people coming out of Antrim. Antrim has a lot of killers coming out of that gym. So she trains with some of the best. If you look at it head-to-head going into the fight with Eli Rodriguez, Eli actually lost to Daniela Vazquez, whereas Muñoz won. Ironically, both were split decisions, just other way. And Muñoz, 27 years old. She's on a hot streak right now. She's 6-2. She's won 5 in a row from everywhere from UWC to Budo to now Luke's Fight League. So she's on a very big hot streak. She actually lost her first couple fights. And then actually 6 in a row. I didn't realize there was a canceled fight in there. So 6 in a row. She was 0-2 and then went 6-0. So she's kind of turned it around. She found what works for her. Like I said, she trains down at Antrim, so she's fighting with a bunch of killers all the time. And then you got Eli Rodriguez, who nobody picked her. Look, let's be real. When she beat Victoria Alba, we were all picking Victoria Alba because Alba looked so great against Vazquez. Nobody was picking Eli Rodriguez. And then Eli Rodriguez came and shocked the world and got her not even submission. She got a ground and pound and put Alba out in Luke's Fight League 28. So This is going to be a very competitive fight of two girls that don't back up. Like, they both come straight forward. They both want to get that win. They both want to try to get a stoppage. And let's be real. Up until the last decision fight, Muñoz was stopping almost everybody she was fighting. She had 3 straight stoppages, ground and pound, arm bar. So this is going to be a battle of who can just invoke their will first. And it's going to be a really fun fight. Any early predictions on who takes this one?
Man, I think Eli Rodriguez pulls this one out. I think her striking's a little bit, she hits a little, it looks, from my perspective and being cage side, watching her fight a few times, watching both of these fights, she just has a little bit more power in her hands, and she incorporates kicking more into her game as well. So I think in terms of striking, that's the case. I could definitely see some takedowns being the defining factor in this fight. So I believe that if she could pull off, if Muñoz can pull off the takedown in this fight, she might be able to run away with a decision on this one. But it's honestly, it's a really close fight to call, but I would have to go with the champ on this one.
It's going to be fun. I think when time comes, I might pick against you on this one just because I think the momentum is on Muñoz's side, where Ellie's been kind of up and down a couple times. But Ellie's also figured it out too. And when you figure it out, you figure it out. Yeah. And the one thing about women's mixed martial arts, especially in Lux in Mexico, it's still very young. You still have a lot of up-and-coming fighters just starting to really kind of break through, the Alexa Grassos of the world and stuff like that. So, Yasmin Jauregui and all those fighters are all just kind of breaking through right now. So the sport, as far as women go in mixed martial arts in Mexico, is still very young. And a lot of these women are starting to come up and find their way. And these are two. It's going to be a fun fight. For a co-main event, it's going to be a fun fight. Alex, the other fighter we're taking a look at today, has already tasted gold in Lux. We're talking about a champion versus champion fight. Saray Orozco, of course, won the strawweight title and then went off to film the reality show for a little while. And then meanwhile, they had an interim title fight. You had Shaka Romo going against Andrea Vazquez. A lot of people weren't picking Vazquez because of her inexperience. A lot of people were going Romo because she had so much experience. But Vazquez got it done and got it done pretty demonstratively. Got the guillotine choke in the fourth round. She was scrappy. She found angles to get in and out, not just with her striking, but with her grappling. What do you see? This guy right here. This guy. What do you think about Andrea Vazquez?
I think Andrea Vazquez, has been in the interim child. This is probably going to be her biggest fight so far. We'll see how she pulls this fight off, man. I think you're right. She surprised everybody. Are we going to get surprised again on this fight? Oof, man. I mean, it's a big ask here tonight. In this fight for her, but oh man, I don't know, man. I really, it's hard for me to call on this one. I have no idea what to expect here.
The thing about Andrea is she has such a grappling background. You look at, you talk about records for fighters, and you can look on Tapology and half the stuff is missing, right? Especially with Mexican fighters. But one thing that does show up on Andrea's record is that she's done a lot of grappling fights. And Saray Orozco is known more for her, striking, getting in and out of combos. You don't see a lot of submissions on Saray Orozco's record. In fact, she has one submission win, period. And she also lost by submission once. If you're Andrea Vazquez, you definitely have a grappling advantage in this fight. With that said, you talk about power couples in mixed martial arts, and Saray Orozco, of course, her and Alan Dominguez kind of running Lux right now with as the power couple. She also trains with a lot of high-level fighters, so you would think that coming into this, at Legion MMA and all the people she trains with, she'd be used to the grappling. But I do think Andrea Vazquez has a distinct grappling advantage. I just don't know if she can get close enough because I feel like Saray might be the bigger fighter, the more reach in length, right? Yeah,
I agree. And if you look at it too, she's been on there. Vazquez has been with Pearl Gonzalez in a grappling matchup, and it has been Ramos when lost to a Victoria Alba, and in that fight, she went the full distance, right? And we already know the finishing power that Alba has, right, as a champion, and so it's gonna be a very interesting matchup for her. Vazquez is tough as they come, and she's put up some very interesting matchups here and wins. Beating Jahaira Romo in her last outing, getting that guillotine choke in the fourth round. Just knows that she's always looking for the finish, man. And then also, she's got most of her wins have been by getting these first, second round finishes. So, man, it'll be interesting to see how she pulls this one off. But I think Saray Orozco just has too much power, man. She's got a lot of experience in the cage and can throw down, man. She hits heavy too as well. So we'll have to see how this one pans out, man. But I have Saray Orozco winning this one by finish.
It's funny going into that last fight, we were talking about, if Romo won again, then she'd be another contender for Saray Orozco, but Saray had already beat Romo a couple times. So, it kind of eliminated us having to watch the same fight again, and we got a fresh fight, which is great. The one thing I will say though is that when Saray fought Romo, those were back and forth battles. When Vazquez fought Romo, the first round was kind of back and forth, but after that, you saw Vazquez just giving Romo all kinds of fits for the last like couple rounds of that fight, and almost the guillotine at the fourth round was just almost mercy because Romo was done. Yeah. And Vazquez just finally got the guillotine locked in, and that was it. You know, Vazquez was scrambling. Vazquez wasn't afraid to stand with her. Like all these things that we were wondering going into that fight, we were just, okay, what are we going to see from this? Because another situation, Romo's similar size to Orozco, and Vazquez was, you know, coming in a little smaller, but you couldn't tell because she was so fired up and she had so much energy and she was in every spot first. They started bleeding. She didn't even slow down. She was like, all right, let's go. You know, right across my chest, let's go. And that's what you look for in a fighter. And I don't know, you know, it's a little too early to say who's going to win that fight. This one I'm not so sure of like I was the last one, but I think this when Lux goes and puts these ladies in the main event and co-main event, there's a reason for it. And these ladies are stealing the show. You know, that fight card has a lot of star power on there. You're talking about Edgar Delgado versus Vic Moreno. You're talking about Anwar Alberto versus Luis Marquez. You're talking about Lazy Boy on that card. You're talking about Mauricio versus Mauricio. Once again, just like y'all did Lobo versus Lobo. You know, you got to have a name versus name. Even if you go down like that, even the Challenger card has some really good people like Casillas on the Challenger series again. Like, which is a whole nother topic, by the way.
Well, one of my favorite.
He finally got out of the Challenger series, and they put him right back.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite fighters. I know Alberto's going to be on the fight card as well.
I love that dude.
You know, very tall guy. He's been training up in Las Vegas. You know, he's been throwing hands. I just heard from Shorty Torres that they were, you know, out there in the same training gym out in Vegas. You know, Power Solórzano's going to be on it. We've seen him fight. Very exciting matchups at 125 pounds. Yeah, it's
he's
right.
going against Virio. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Uriel Cosillo's going to be on there as well. So I mean, we're against a Kraken Londono. So yeah, it's quite the matchup and quite the buildup of all these fighters that we've seen fight in Luke's Fight League, and you know that are established, and people are really becoming really good fans of these guys.
And like I said, it goes back to how much women's mixed martial arts is stealing the show and how much they've evolved to where now they are the main event. And when you have not just one but two women's title fights on this card, it's must watch. It's really must watch, and it's not even hyperbole. Like you have to see this one. It's going to be, you know, sorry to steal Muñoz's name, but this one's going to be dynamite. This one's going to be explosive, and both title fights are toss-ups. Like they're really toss-ups. Like they could go either way. We could have two new champions, or we have and still both fights. So that's going to be some fun stuff. Alex, you still got like a month to go before you got to go down there. You getting lazy over here? Getting complacent? Like,
no, man. What are you talking about, man? I'm having a good time. I got a month before I go there. My brother's gonna go with me this time, so we'll be going out doing some sightseeing.
Oh, nice.
Out in Guadalajara. I'll spend a couple of days here in Guadalajara. My family's from there, so on my dad's side, so I'll be knocking on some family doors out there and just checking out the place, man. I've always wanted to go to Guadalajara. Never been there, so
it's on my bucket list too. It is definitely on my bucket list. The only places I've been in Mexico are Mexico City and Tijuana. And I, as somebody who's bartended for over 20 years and even bartended at authentic, not just Tex-Mex, but like authentic Mexican places, like a place called MXDC in DC, where we, you know, talking about moles and all the authentic sauces and everything was cooked Southern Mexican style, in that, you know, Jalisco type style and Guadalajara style. So to cover that, you know, hundreds of tequilas and mezcals, like that's always been on my bucket list to get down there. Unfortunately, life just hasn't led me that way yet. But man, I would love to go down there sometime too. So I'm a little bit jealous of you going down to Jalisco. I don't know how. Like, somehow you got to smuggle me some tequila though. Like, you just have to.
You can just go to your local 7-Eleven. There's some tequila there.
They're getting
right?
expensive. I told you that. I told you all the bats are dying. They're not pollinating the damn agave. So now, what do we do? They're getting expensive.
What are we doing? Yeah, man, you're right. Good point. You know what?
So,
I'm gonna get. I'll come back and.
There is a bar, and I'll let the local people that watch this show. I'll let you know there is a bar in St. Pete that does like $1 Tuesday tequila shots. Just let you know.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get you a tequila bottle from Mexico. All right. How about that?
I appreciate that. Tequila or mezcal, to be honest with you, I love both. I'm not picky. Me and Alex will try to squeeze in at least one more show. If it's not a preview show for some of the fighters, we will preview the entire Lux 32 card sometime in the next week or two. That said, any final words today, Alex, before we get out of here?
No, stay tuned, folks. It's going to be a good time with the process of going out there. Well, like you said, we'll be talking about the fight cards and some of my favorite fighters that are coming up, man. I'm looking at the fight card going, God damn. Anara Burto and Mauricio Hammer is going to be out there as well. That kid is just unstoppable at 135 pounds. So we'll be covering over the fighters and calling in what we think are some of the guys who could possibly make it to the big show.
And real quick before we get out of here, I know Lux is not going to be happy about this, but shout out to my guy Pedro Pena. Cholo got the win this weekend in a different promotion. But still, look, we cover yes. Latin American fighters. Look, we've talked about
crossing borders. We're crossing the border.
We talked about Combate. It's not just Lux. We do love Lux, but we cover everything. Of course, somebody works for Lux, so we kind of have to talk about Lux. But we do cover everything. So shout out to Pedro Pena. Got another win this time outside of Lux. Hopefully, we see him back in a Lux fight cage some point soon because I love that guy. You talk about no backup. Like the dude fights with his heart on his sleeve and just gives it all. And he's really fucking good too. So it just makes it better. So shout out to him for the big win this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Crossing Borders. I'm Mike Gint. That's Extremo Alex Soto. Go ahead and head over to FightersFirst.shop. Get the Extremo collection. And we'll see y'all in a couple weeks. We're out.